For more Microsoft webcasts, you can go to Microsoft.com/webcast. Thanks again for joining us on today's TechNet webcast, PowerShell Essentials for the Busy Admin, Part 1 of this 5-part series. It's now my pleasure to introduce your presenter, Ed Wilson. Ed, you have the floor.
Thank you, Phil. Well, hello, everybody. This is Ed Wilson, and I am the Microsoft scripting guy. And today we're beginning a 5-part series that is called PowerShell Essentials for the Busy Admin. And I really enjoy doing these live meetings, especially with the questions and the interaction and stuff that we have. So you might be thinking, PowerShell, SmallShell. Why should I bother to learn Windows PowerShell? Well, I could answer that question by saying, well, PowerShell is cool. PowerShell is fun. PowerShell will change your life. And you might go, yeah, right, yeah. Or you might say, cool, that's exactly what I wanted to know. Well, one of the things that I need to tell you is that, if you're an IT admin, an IT pro, then you're going to really need to learn PowerShell. As a matter of fact, you're at the point right now that it's kind of beginning an explosion, if you will. PowerShell is our management direction for the future. And so if you're doing Exchange, you're doing SharePoint, you're doing SQL, Systems Configuration Center, something like that, then you're going to want to learn to use Windows PowerShell because these tools are essentially your preferred management interface. As we move into the next version of Windows, Windows 8, on the server side, as you add roles and features, you get access to more and more PowerShell commandlets. Working with Windows Active Directory, using the Active Directory module, is a lot of fun. As a matter of fact, I've been, last week and this week on the Hey Scripting Guy blog, I've been writing a number of articles about using Windows PowerShell to manage Active Directory. But before we do this, let me think. I want you to think back just a little bit. And when I first became an IT admin, I was doing Exchange. Matter of fact, it wasn't even called Exchange; it was called PC Mail. And so I learned how to do that. And so if you wanted to give somebody access to email, you created them a mailbox. You mail-enabled the user. And then Exchange 4 came out, and it's the same thing. You mail-enable user, create the mailbox, and all of that stuff. But the thing is that the interface was different. And between 4.0 and 5.0 and 5.5, Exchange 2000, 2003, 2007, whatever, as the different versions of Exchange began to pile up, the concepts are the same. I mail-enable my users. We create mailbox database on databases and all of these things. But the place that you go in order to be able to create these things, in order to be able to do these things, it all becomes different. And so you spend a lot of time learning where to go. You go click, 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 right-click, select something from an action menu, and then you go to it. But the neat thing is that with using Windows PowerShell, new mailbox, enable mailbox user. We just simply use this commandlet, and you don't have to know where in the GUI things appear. And so for me, that's one of the big things. Another thing you may think of is like, well, using the GUI to create a user in Active Directory. Well, that's pretty cool. We go over here, we open up Active Directory users and computers. We go right-click, new user, go type, next, type, next, groovy, I'm done. It takes about a minute and a half. That's fine. Wow, a minute and a half. That's pretty slick. That's pretty quick for one user. And then your boss comes in and says, we need you to set up 10,000 users. Oh, no, Mr. Bill. That's 15,000 minutes. Yeah, and I'm not going to divide that by 60 in my head to tell you how many hours, but you're going to be going click, 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 type, type, type for the next 3 or 4 days. Dude, or do that. There needs to be a better way to do this, and the answer for that is Windows PowerShell. I can use a Windows PowerShell script and create my 10,000 users, and it's going to be just about as much effort as it was to create one user. So, Windows PowerShell, what's in it for me? Well, it is the management story that's going forward. Active Directory, domain services, Exchange, IIS, SharePoint, SQL Server, System Center, all of these things are using Windows PowerShell. And we have commandlets, that makes it easy to be able to use these things and to work with stuff. Now, the scripting wife is actually listening to this live meeting. She's downstairs, so she can't bug me too badly. But one of the things that the scripting wife has heard me say over and over and over again, and that is PowerShell is PowerShell is PowerShell. Okay? And I could add another is PowerShell there if you want me to. The neat thing about Windows PowerShell is it's consistent. Okay? And so if I know how to use Windows PowerShell to create a file, then it's not much training to use Windows PowerShell to create a folder or to create a variable or a function or an environmental variable or anything else, because PowerShell works and acts the same way. In the, I think it's today's Hey Scripting Guy blog article, I talk a little bit about using Windows PowerShell to find information about the security on objects in Active Directory. And the email that it came to me at scripter@microsoft.com was, hey, there's no commandlets that let me, get Active Directory object security or set Active Directory object security. And that's true. And there's not a commandlet that does this. But the commandlet that I use is get ACL or set ACL. And that is exactly the same way that I get security on a file or a folder or a registry key or an object in Active Directory. So PowerShell is PowerShell is PowerShell. It all works the same way. It's all the same. And so, for instance, if I want to delete a bunch of users in Active Directory, I would imagine that I can use get AD user, pipe it to remove AD user, or remove item, or something like that. And I don't have my Active Directory commandlets running, and I don't have that particular command memorized. But I would start with something like that, because that's the way that I would expect that it would work. And this is the neat thing here, is that it's easy to learn, and it has a high degree of discoverability. Now, one of the things that's really cool about Windows PowerShell is this verb-noun naming convention. So, for instance, we have standard verbs: get, and set, new, remove. And so these verbs then, they kind of give you an idea of what Windows PowerShell is going to do. So if I'm going to get a process, or I'm going to get a service, or I'm going to get an AD user, we all know that we just simply use that verb, get. Noun is what the action is going to take place against. Is it going to be a service? Is it going to be a process? An AD user, a mailbox, a database. So those things help us with this. So as I mentioned, we have get service, and get process, and so these things, actually, they work out pretty cool. Now, along with this, you get to be a smart aleck, because somebody says, hey, I need to find out information about services. Well, you say, get service. Oh, I need to find out information about processes. Get process. I need to find out how do I get help. Get help. Am I bugging you? Get lost. Yeah, so yeah, it works. We use the standard verb, and then we have a relatively consistent list of nouns. But one of the things with the nouns is that we prefer the singular, and so this again helps to promote learning and discoverability. So I know that it might be get service and not get services, or it might be get process and not get processes. So we kind of get rid of those snakes that are there that can trip you up. Now, this isn't always the case because lots of different people, companies, and teams, write their commandlets. But for people that know Windows PowerShell, we're expecting the singular. And so that's what you should try first when you're guessing or just trying to discover what you might need to use. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, learn Windows PowerShell. Well, what's in it for me? Well, these are a couple of things that you may want to think about, for this. One, it's safer. And so, for instance, one of the things that we've got with Windows PowerShell is that we have a what-if commandlet. Now, this is actually really cool. I predict that if you consistently begin to use what-if, that you would probably add maybe a 0.1% uptime to your servers, to your systems. And what do I mean by this? Well, say I type command, get process, and then I pipeline it to stop process. Well, let's say that we do. Okay, so I'm going to, this is starting to get a little, let's pipe over here. So I'm going to share my Windows PowerShell console. So I can actually kind of like show this for you. So I've been playing around here. This is actually one of my favorite things to do. This is called the range operator. So 1.15 creates an array of numbers. This is an alias for each object, and then this just prints it out. And so I carry this number across the pipeline, and then we display this. Now, if you don't understand this right now, by the end of the week you will understand this, because it's a pretty basic Windows PowerShell technique. But we weren't talking about that. So I got get process. Now, one of the things here, I could type get-pr, and I press tab. And when I tab, then you can see that it completes the name of the command. So let's do this again. Get -p, and then I hit tab. Okay, we can see it's picking up some other stuff here. And if that starts to get boring for you, then what you do is, well, we have a number of commandlets that have P, PR, and then now I hit tab, and then it brings it right up there. So get processed. I mentioned that this gives us a listing of all of our processes, and we can see that in fact it does. Okay, so I'm going to clear this screen and use my up arrow, and the up arrow brings the command back up front. So if I take get process and I pipe this to stop process, I wonder what would happen if I press enter. Well, let's check it out and see. So dash what if. Now, this is really cool because I could ask for a show of hands on this, and I could say, how many of you have ever typed a command and you pressed enter and you did not know what that command would do? And I would venture to say that at least half, if not more, of you would raise your hand and say, yes, I have typed a command and pressed enter, and I didn't know what that command would do. And then if I said, have you done this on a production server while it was in production? And I would say that if you, that there would still be a similar number of people that would say, yeah. And now, just before Or those of you that wouldn't raise your hand would say, well, how reckless can you be? Think about it for a second. You've got a problem on your server. You go to TechNet's webpage. You look it up, and you find the KB article down at the bottom. To fix this problem, type this command. You have no idea what that command is, what in fact it's really going to do, and you may even not be certain that that command actually applies to your specific server in your specific circumstances. But you're having problems. So you type this command, and you don't know what it's really going to do. Most of you don't take the time because you don't have the opportunity, because you got problems. So you're not going to test this command out, on in your lab to see what it really does. And I would be the first to admit, I have done this. When I was in consulting, I've been at a customer site and typed the command. I didn't know what it was going to do. I pressed enter. Luckily it solved the problem. Well, the nice thing is with PowerShell, you can now test these things out before you actually run it on your production system. And we press enter, and oh my goodness, look at this. What would it do? Well, if I had run this command on my laptop, which is what I'm running it on right now, then guess what? This live meeting would be over because it would have shut down my machine. It would have stopped every single process on this box. So, good thing I had what if. Okay? So, I'm going to pop back over to my slide deck here. Okay, so what if? What if is really cool. I believe, that it really and truly, will add uptime to your systems. Confirm. Now, I could have done confirm, but that would have gotten really boring because really I don't want to stop any of the processes on my laptop. Confirm prompts you for every single thing. It's like, hey, do you want to stop this process? No. Do you want to stop this process? No. And it would keep on going for all 75 processes that are running on my machine. Now, this is something that's really cool. Using Windows PowerShell, even though you have to type, quite often it's a lot faster. Okay? Now, I'm going to kind of do this. So, if I was to open up my event log, okay, so I come down over into the corner. I click the pearl. I go to start. Then I go to programs and accessories. Admin tools. I find my event log viewer. I say okay. I wait for 30 to 40 seconds for it to load. Then I find my application log. I click on it. I wait for 30 or 45 seconds for that to load. And then eventually, then I can start to look for events using my event viewer. Now, I'm going to pop right back over here to my PowerShell. I'm going to type CLS and clear the screen. And now I'm going to show you how easy it is to find information from my application log. So you get event log, application, and I'm sitting there yapping, by the way. Show me the newest entry. Boom, there it is. It is that fast. Okay? So when I was at PowerShell Saturday 2 days ago in Columbus, Ohio, and I see that there's a couple people attending from PowerShell Saturday. Hello, everybody. Then I actually demoed this in my session. I showed opening up the event log, and it took about a minute and a half before we could get to the point to where we could find the most recent entry in the application log. And then on PowerShell, I just typed this command. It took less than 5 seconds to type the command, and I can type it faster than that if I'm not talking at the same time. And boom, there it is. Now, the neat thing about this is that I can use -computer name, and I can get this information from remote computers. And So it begins to work extremely powerful to the extent to which we can get this information. So it is a lot faster in working with a lot of different things. Okay, it's more powerful. I did Tim in Charlotte had asked me to go with him to his customer, and so we went down to the customer, and they were having a problem with their Exchange servers, and they had several hundred Exchange servers, and they were looking at this stuff, and so what I did, using Get Event Log, we were able to find a specific event that was letting them know when they were having a problem on their Exchange server. And so we used Get Mailbox Server to get all of their Exchange servers that had mailboxes on them. And then I gave that information to Get Event Log, and then we looked for the specific event from the application log, and boom, we consolidated our results from over 100 servers. Yeah, and once they were able to look at that, then they were able to say, dude, yeah, they found the problem. And this is a problem that they'd had for quite some time. Yeah, and in less than an hour, we basically had found the root, the problem. Yeah, and then they were able to chase it down with root cause, and were able to fix it. So this allows you to pull this information from hundreds or thousands of servers, and to consolidate it and to give you a really nice, easy view of the information. Persisting results from queries, that's easy. I can just store my results in a variable, and then I can compare these against multiple machines. I can make changes with stuff. I can edit the registry. I have a number of commandlets that will allow me to modify things. Typically, they have a verb of set to let you do stuff. So set will make changes to things. Document information, I can use get to make sure that the information was done properly. One of the things I like to do is to use a transcript, and it keeps track of all the commands and all of the output from those commands. And I'll show that to you a little bit later. Okay, so demo. What's in it for me? Well, consistency, discoverability, and so forth and so on. Let's pop over and actually kind of take a little bit more of a view of these things. So we're going to pop over here, go back to what is PowerShell. Okay, so consistency. We mentioned the verbs. I can type get verb, and it gives me a listing of all of my standard verbs. And so, add, clear, close, copy, enter, exit, find, format, get, blah, blah, blah. Lock, move, new, open, push, pop, reset, resize, search, skip, show, all that. So these are all of the standard verbs. So if I want to read from something, typically I'm going to be using read. If I want to ping something, then I'm going to be using ping. If I'm going to test my connection, then I'm going to use test. These are the standard verbs that we want to use. I can use get command and specify a verb of get, and I can see that I have a number of commands that all use the verb get. And so these are things that I can get, that I can obtain, that I can work with. And so a lot of really good information there. And once I find something, so for instance, I want to find out information about how to use something. Well, I can use get help and say get process. Let's go back over here and type another letter. Get process. And so then this gives me information about how to use the get process commandlet. And so it gets processes that are running on a local or a remote computer. And we can specify the name of the process, the computer name. We can pull back information about file versions and modules, and all of that. Knowing that we had these parameters available was really important in the scripting games last year. One of the events in the scripting games, I tested to see if you knew that I could find out file version information, from a running process. And hey, this is your cheat sheet for Windows for the scripting games. Yeah, use Get Help. Okay, that's one of the most common things that you need to use. Use Get Help. Get Command I already showed you. That helps you to find stuff. Get Help will help you learn how to do this. So, if you are an Exchange admin and you're wanting to figure out how to do, message tracing or something like that, then you use Get Command to try to find the command list. You use Get Help to help you learn how to use this. Now, let me show you one of my favorite tricks. Is I can say Get Help, and then I use Show Me the Examples. So -EX, and then I press Tab, and this will show me the examples. Now, this is going to scroll a lot, and so I'm going to send this to More. Okay? Yeah, we can use command line commands, in Windows PowerShell, and I'll show you that in a little bit. So, to get process, okay? Yeah, and it gives you a listing of processes. We can pick out specific processes and send it to a list. Then notice that the commands start to get more complex, and this is really cool because you can learn a lot about Windows PowerShell just by looking at the examples. Dude, this is like a really complex example. Oh my gosh, this is like PowerShell 401 or something. Yeah. So this is used. This actually is really neat. This is in a Get Process example, but they're showing you a rather advanced technique from Format Table, in which they're creating custom labels and calculated values inside that table. So this is a really cool example. Yeah, and so what I'm wanting to do, the point of this is to show you that the examples in the help are very good. And they are worthwhile. Even if you're an advanced PowerShell user, you will still learn some things by going through these examples. And so there is some very, very good stuff here. And this goes back with our discoverability, okay, learning how to use this. Matter of fact, a lot of times I have a really good idea about how I want to use a commandlet, but I just want to verify the syntax a little bit. So I'll pop over really quick and use Get Help and take a look at it. Okay, so I've already showed you that it was faster and safer and more powerful. So let's go back to our slide deck. Okay, what's in it for me? Consistency, discoverability, safer, faster, more powerful. Okay, you learn how to do PowerShell, you can jump over tall buildings in a single bound, or at least you'll be able to take the elevator. So some things in PowerShell are really, really easy to do. So for instance, if we look at these things, then dir, you know what that does. It gives you a directory listing. CLS clears the screen. MD, will make a directory. RD will get rid of a directory. If you're from the Unix side of the house, then LS and cat will make you feel right at home. And then a lot of these commandlets are really easy. Get process, get service, get event log, get help. I mean, it's like as soon as you know the commandlet name, you essentially know how to use it because it's not very complicated. It's very, very straightforward. So let's take a look at some of this stuff here. This is actually kind of fun. So we're going to go back over here. We'll demo using CLS, first of all. I've already done that, of course. But Now I can scroll all the way down to my output, and I can just type CLS because that's where my insertion point is. And generally, that'll go ahead and clear my screen anyway. So, clear the screen. Well, I can type dir, gives me a directory listing. Okay, clear the screen. I can type ls. Hey, that gives me a directory listing too. So, clear the screen. Now, let's go dir again. Now, I'm wanting to look now to see what junk folders I've got that I can play around with. So I have an FSO. I don't have an FSO1. So I'm going to create a new folder. It's this simple: md // FSO1. Press enter. There it is. Type DAR to verify it, and we can see, yep, there it is. Yeah, FSO and FSO1. It's like, well, dude, I don't need an FSO1 folder. I mean, this is bogus. So it's pretty simple. RD, // Now, I can tab expand here. So I can press my tab as FSO1. It's gone. It's out of there. Up arrow. It's history. Sweet. Sweet. It worked. All right. Woo! Now, what's a cat? Let's do this. So let's come over here and go to dir, // and this gives me a listing of what is in my FSO folder. And so there's a cn.text, cat, /FSO, /cn.text, and it has a listing of 3 computer names. Well, that's actually kind of cool. So let's do something now. So I've got that command right there. Now I'm going to go back to the beginning, get process. That worked. Okay, so go back over here, try it again. Get process and delete this. Hit cat -cn for my computer name, and I'm going to put parentheses around this that says I want to do this first, and then voila. So I press enter, and what this does is this queries all 3 computers for the processes. And so you can see that we have our outputs here is merged in this particular view. So we've got so it queried all 3 computers, and it gave us our information back. Now, as it happens to turn out, all 3 computers are the same computer, but PowerShell didn't know that necessarily. So this is a way that you can test to see if your code is going to work against multiple computers. And in fact, it did. So this is actually really neat because I use this command here, which gives me the contents of this, and I just say, get the contents of that file and give me the processes on all 3 of those different computers. And if they had, in fact, been different computers, then we would have a merged listing here from the different machines. And this then allows me to go in and analyze it and find out why one computer is running squirrely and the other isn't. So this is an extremely powerful technique. And it's like, dude. Now, to do this in VBScript, and Klaus did a comment, I think on today's Hey Scripting Guy blog, he made a comment, that VBScript is very powerful, and it for 10 years was all admins had. And I'm not picking on VBScript. I love VBScript. I wrote 3 books on VBScript. It was very fun. But it's just like, now, when I was a kid, I enjoyed riding a bike. Nowadays I prefer to drive. So VBScript was something that was great. It was extremely useful during the time, but, PowerShell, makes things a lot easier. And that's the whole point. Is some things are very easy to do in PowerShell. To write this exact command, in VBScript would be at least 25 lines of code. And one of the big problems is formatting a table in VBScript as far as all that goes. Okay, so that works out pretty neat. Now, I'm going to show you something else. I'm going to clear my screen. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to open up a new instance of Notepad. Okay? So you can't see the Notepad because I'm not sharing it, but it is, in fact, there. That's what that gray line is, as a matter of fact, across the screen. Okay? So I minimized Notepad. Okay? So I started an instance of Notepad. One of the nice things about PowerShell, being in a console like this, is that I can use command line types of techniques. And so now, I'm going to say get process, Notepad, and press enter. And so you can see, yeah, Notepad is in fact running. Now I decide I want to stop that process while I pipeline it. Stop process. And now let's up arrow, and we can see that, as a matter of fact, the Notepad process is now gone. It's out of there. It's history. It's now, this is one of the nice things about PowerShell. The error messages are worthwhile. It says, I cannot find a process with the name of Notepad. Okay? And then it's really polite, so it's not rude here, and it says, verify the process name and call the command line again. So that doesn't say just like go away, leave me alone. Yeah, it says verify the process name and call the command line again. Yeah, if we need that. I, on the other hand, was simply wanting to verify that Notepad did in fact stop after I ran that particular command. So everything is groovy. So let's go back over here. Go back to the slide deck. Okay. Now, one of the other things, and with this PowerShell, because this is a command line type of environment, it's really easy to work with files and to create files. So I can redirect the information by using the redirection arrows. Yeah, it's easy to read files, which I've already demoed. I can add content to the file. I can delete the file. All of this stuff is really, really easy to do. And so I'm going to demo this for you. So the demo slide. Woo! Okay, there's the demo slide. We're going to come over here. We're going to go down to the Windows PowerShell console. Open up the console. And I'm going to clear the screen for a second. Now, I want to show you this. This isn't in my slide deck. But I can type get history, and it gives me a listing of all the commands that I have typed. I'm going to clear this screen. There is an alias that I use. The alias is H for get history. And so I press enter, and it gives me my history. Now, why was I interested in this? Well, remember, I created a folder, and then I deleted the folder. Well, so what I'm going to do is I need that folder back, and so I'm going to run command 23. So now, it didn't take me long to type that command, but it's easier to say R23. Okay? I mean, it really is. So that's faster than even typing the command, which itself is pretty darn short. Now, remember get process. Okay? Get process gives me this listing, and it's a really nice listing output of all of the processes running on my machine. Well, I need to produce a report of all of the processes that are running on my machine. And so now I'm going to write this to a text file. I can use a double arrow. Okay? The double arrow will append to a file. If the file doesn't exist, then it'll create it. So I can say /FSO1 and then /processes .text. And I press arrow, and there it is. Now I want to read the content of that file. Now we used cat, but maybe I don't want to use cat, so I'm going to use type this time. type /access FSO1 /tab, process that text, and there it is. This is my listing. Now, this is, in fact, a text file. Okay? So if I got dir, /access FSO1, actually just FSO1, then we can see there is my text file, and we just read the contents of that text file by using type. Now, as I showed you earlier, let's go back to the history here. When I have my cn.txt file, that was command number 28. So I say R28. This has each computer name on its own individual line. Now, I don't want to get too complex here, but this returns an array. So this is one computer name, this is another computer name, and that's a third computer name. And I can get access to those individually if I want to. I'm not going to go into that, but for those of you that know what an array is and stuff, this is really cool. I read a text file, and it returned an array. So it's automatically set up for me to walk my way through that file. And that is what's so important. Now, I have my process information, so I'm going to use get service. And we know that get service is going to give me service information. See? So I'm going to write that service information to the end of my process file. So FSO1 processes, and then now I'm going to up arrow a couple times and get the contents of that file. And we see there's my process information, and then we see the service information comes flowing right by. So that works out really cool. But, dude, now I've got service information in a process file. Well, I don't want that. So let's just get rid of it. Delete /access FSO1 /process.text. Is this what I want? Well, I'm not sure. What if? It will remove the file on that target. That is exactly what I want, but I still want to make sure, so I'm going to say confirm. Are you sure that you want to remove this file? Yes, yes to all, no, no to all. S for suspend, which is kind of like I'm not sure, and then help. Okay, so the default is yes. I'm going to say yes, and now it's gone. If I do my directory listing, then we can see that there are now no files in that folder. So I'm going to type my history back, and we can see that we did RD to get rid of that folder. So this is going to be run 25. And that's a groovy, and now it's gone. Okay? So that is a quick demo of working with files and with working with folders. Come back to our slide deck here. Go to the next slide. Okay, I need to talk to you a little bit about some learning resources. And so in order to do this, what I want to do is I'm going to share Internet Explorer. So we're going to come over here. We're going to say share Internet Explorer. There we go. Move Explorer over here. Okay, so now you should be able to see Internet Explorer. First thing I want to do is I'm going to take you to the home page here. So this is the Script Center. The Script Center, if you're not familiar with it, is the place on TechNet where you want to go to get information about working with script. And then I've got stuff about VBScript and PowerShell and everything else here. Now, the big thing that's coming up is the 2012 scripting games. And so if you have not done the scripting games before, you should definitely consider doing the scripting games. And what the scripting games are is they're a really good chance for you to learn information about what is PowerShell. So this is a chance for you to come through and to begin to learn PowerShell. I have two categories, beginners and advanced. And the beginners really are for beginners. And so this is definitely would be the place for you to go. If you're wanting to learn about PowerShell, then go to the study guide for this. Now I'm going to be testing about hardware, dates, ETW logs, XML, classic event logs, CSV files, folders, and text files, and services, and processes. And so this is a really good place for you to go through. I've got links to scripting guide articles and stuff here. And so this will take you over all of these different vital areas that you need to be able to do. On the all-in-one page that we've got over here, then we will also have a link to the registration as soon as that opens up. It's also going to be on Twitter, so you may want to go with that. There is a PowerShell quiz that you may want to check out. Actually, this is the web series from last year. This is on the Learn PowerShell page, and this is the PowerShell quiz. Now, I've just created a new quiz, and I'm hoping that in honor of this series of live meetings, I'm hoping that the new quiz will be available for this. And so you can click on that. Like I said, there is the 2011 quiz, the 2012 quiz will be there as well. And so you definitely would want to go through that. It's 20 questions, but there's a pool of more than that, and it pulls random questions out of the pool so that you can do that. If you guess and get a question right, that's fine. There is a learning link for every question. And so if you guess and get it right, you may want to look at that learning link and find out why you got it right. Obviously, if you get the question wrong, then you would want to do that and go over that. Okay? So the learning what is PowerShell. This is last year's events right there. This year's events will be linked on here as well. You get the quiz and all that stuff. So scripting games is a really, really good thing. The other thing that you probably want to know about is the community. And so on the we have International PowerShell User Group Day is on March the 19th. So those are going to be available for various PowerShell user groups around the world. There will be a series of 3 broadcasts from that. Because bandwidth is limited, there are not very many individual seats that would be available. So you would want to join us to go to a PowerShell user group to watch that. And that's going to be really cool. Don Jones is going to be speaking. I'm going to be speaking. There's going to be some other people too. This is on the community page where I list all of my upcoming engagements, and so it's going to be in a lot of different places. So yeah, check that out on that. So let's kind of go back over here to the slide deck. Okay, so I've got on the slide deck, I've got links to some specific articles. So I showed you the quizzes, the PowerShell page. There's getting started articles and scripting live articles and all of that. So definitely want to check those things out. And so now we've got time for some questions. So David says, so why no modern Microsoft certifications listed on the front page? The MCTS and the MCITP. Well, I've got several MCTSs. I just don't list them all. Matter of fact, I have over 20 some different certifications, and I don't list them all. So I just list a few. Maybe I'll change them and list some different ones. But yeah, I do have modern certifications. I take certification exams all the time, and so just for fun. So, but yeah, so that's why they're not listed. Let's see. I would like to invoke Microsoft's baseline security analyzer on 50 to 60 remote virtual servers. Is this possible, and how would I do this? Thanks in advance. I haven't used the baseline security analyzer for a while, but I seem to remember that it does, in fact, have a command line syntax. And so the easiest way to do that, then, is to use the invoke commandlet. Invoke command, then, will run against a remote machine that uses Windows PowerShell remoting. And so then you would say invoke command. You could just use, get content or cat to read your text file to add your 50 or 60 remote servers. So invoke command dash cn, and then the command itself would be the command line syntax for the MBSA. That would not be that horribly difficult to do. Now, the other thing that you want to do, though, is that your output from that, you would probably want to redirect that to a file. I think there's a switch in the MBSA that tells you how you want the output, but that I'm not certain of. Let's go back here to the other question. So, let's see, Matt doesn't have a question. John, does case-sensitive input matter? I notice he's using uppercase and lowercase. No, most of the time it is not case-sensitive. And PowerShell itself is generally not. Now, when using some things, though, there are, like using regular expressions and doing the various comparison operators can be case-sensitive, but by default, most of the things there are. What Microsoft Press would I recommend getting to read? I would recommend the Microsoft Press book, since he specifically asked Microsoft Press, Windows PowerShell 2.0 Best Practices. It's written by a guy named Ed Wilson. He gets confused a lot with Robert Redford. But yeah, the Best Practices book was designed, for people that are wanting to learn about Windows PowerShell and from a long direction. Can you implement your own WhatF in PowerShell scripts? I have done that, yes. It can definitely be done. When you use commandlet binding on your commandlet, it's even easier. Any chance we can speed this along? Probably. When typing a command and using tab expansion, I get things like blah, blah, blah. Will it not supply the advanced options with the tab completion? Using the basic standard tab completion that is in PowerShell, then it does commandlet names, and then you do the dash, and then will start to do the options as well. There's a Codeplex project called PowerTab that you can bring in, because tab expansion is simply it's a function, and so PowerTab replaces that, and that gives you additional options. It's actually pretty cool. Do I know of a way to make the tab completion not delete the remaining? Yes. Using PowerShell 3, it doesn't do that. In PowerShell 2, it does delete the remaining line. Preserve history between sessions. I have a Hey Scripting Guy blog article where I talked about that. Essentially what I do is I export the history when I leave, and then I import the history when I start it back. Does PowerShell show on Get Event Log Log Name application? Is PowerShell an application that's visible to others? Yeah, PowerShell writes to a PowerShell log. I think that's the question. I'm not certain. How do I use Get Event Log to access event logs that are in subfolders? You do not use get event log to access the ETL, ETW logs. You use get when event. I do have a session where I'll be talking about that. I've got a dozen Hey Scripting Guy articles where I talk about using PowerShell with SharePoint. Create websites and install SSL. You can. There is the IIS modules that can help with doing with a lot of that stuff. There are no certifications for PowerShell right now. I have heard about some people that were talking about doing a third-party cert. Suggestions for getting started: the Scripting Guide blog articles. Begin with the Scripting Life articles. The Scripting Life began learning PowerShell for the 2012 the scripting games a couple of years ago, and I documented her progress. That's a really good way to do it. The recording will be posted on Learn PowerShell. I want to be a PowerShell leader locally in Columbia. Contact you. Send me an email at scripter@microsoft.com. PowerShell is not in WinPE yet. There's a possibility. It could be, but right now it's not. I was talking about accepted options, the dash options argument. No, it doesn't accept those. And it is 3 o'clock, and that's it. So I appreciate everybody for coming and stuff. We've got a quiz. So on there, I'm widely available. So send me a tweet, Facebook, whatever. We already did the questions and Q&As. And did I go too far? I think I did. Maybe not.
Nope, you're fine. You're on the survey.
Okay, cool. That's where I wanted to be.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, thanks, Ed. And Ed got us to the survey here. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you would not mind taking a moment to fill out the survey, this is actually a portal to it. You can get there by clicking on any of the links currently on the screen, either anonymous, registered online, all other registrants. Everything's going to take you to that evaluation, and we do very much appreciate your feedback. It will affect future content for these TechNet webcasts. Also a reminder that the PowerPoint for today's presentation is available in 2 formats. If you want it in the PowerPoint format itself, you can go to your upper right-hand corner and click on the icon of the 3 documents. That will allow you to download in a PowerPoint format. Or you can go to the lower right-hand corner and click on the printer icon. That will allow you to print or save in PDF format. With that, Ed, do you have any closing statements?
No. That's it. Look forward to seeing everybody tomorrow.
All right. Well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. That does conclude today's webcast. We do want to extend a special thanks to Ed Wilson for his presentation today, and do hope you will join us tomorrow and for the remainder of this series. And thank you once again for joining. You may now disconnect from the audio portion of today's webcast, and have a great day.